Hello and welcome to day 10 of our US fall road trip, and today we finally feel like we are making progress. Yesterday we covered over 230 miles and today we carry on in that vein and plan on racking up a huge 360 miles in over 6 hours on the road, heading up through the Catskill mountains, hopefully with some more fantastic fall foliage, and then up through the state of New York to the very northern end at Buffalo and finally Niagara, where we plan to cross over into Canada to see the falls from the more scenic side. There was little to hang around for, so after enjoying the inclusive breakfast, we hopped in the car early and got the show on the road. The opening sections of the drive were very scenic, and we were quickly across the Hudson River and heading deep into the famous Catskill Mountains. Our route yesterday had taken us quite a bit out of our way, and while today would get us back onto a more direct route, we still didn't want to just slog the whole 300 plus miles on the freeway, so we planned a route that started out following the Catskill Scenic Byway. Honestly, we were a little disappointed with the first part of the route. Having been blown away yesterday by the beauty of this area, the byway felt a little flat. This was possibly not helped by the fact that the light was really flat. The heat of yesterday had dissipated, and while it was still a pleasant day, a high cloud layer just blanketed out any light and left everything very lifeless. We followed the byway through sleepy villages, shallow valleys, and past the odd large hill that could scarcely be called a mountain, all a little bit underwhelming. Especially when we hit Margaretville, which I had misread as Margaritaville, which would have been far more exciting. Really, with the fall light and the so-so scenery, we just pushed on. Maybe we'd just been a little spoiled yesterday. The scenic byway heads north at the head of the Pepacton Reservoir, but we decided to pull off and follow the Ferty. The scenic byway had not really lived up to its name, and the Ferty followed the huge banks of this large body of water, all the way to its dam at Downsville. This reservoir holds 25% of New York's drinking water and spans over 15 miles, so it's pretty colossal and has some real opportunities for scenic beauty. To start off, it wasn't great. We still had the same flat light, and the road was just far enough back that the lake was obscured from view. Around the halfway point, this completely changed. The skies opened up, the sun came out, and the views became quite simply ridiculous. We stopped at the bridge midway and gawped at the stunning setting, the near silent air adding a real calm and beauty to the scene. It was clear how much impact the sun was having, as one way was golden and beautiful, and back the other way from where we came was dull and lifeless. We wondered about the seemingly hundreds of abandoned boats that lined the shores, but later found out this was due to the great trout fishing that can be found on the reservoir. We spent a good while just relaxing and exploring the beautiful vistas that now surrounded the reservoir and getting some really beautiful photos. The weather was warm and the still air really incredible. The traffic was super light on this road and you could hear the sparse cars and trucks coming a mile off, while most of the time it was just unbroken silence. Almost a little eerie. Whilst it was a little late in the year, the fall colours were still really beautiful, with hues of orange and red and green still present in the canopies of the trees. After following the reservoir for a few more miles, we reached the Pepacton Dam that looms over Downsville before dropping down into the ludicrously monikered town dubbed the best town by a dam. There wasn't much on offer to tempt us, it felt a touch too hick for us, and we had plenty of gas and provisions, so pushed on. The route remained very rural and pretty as we passed through farms, pastures and quaint little red barns. It was all very picturesque. However, before long the roads kept getting bigger and the landscapes flattening out as we left the Catskills and headed for the wide open ranges of the far north of the country. Before long we were on the freeway and heading for Syracuse, where we would pick up the Interstate 90 and start heading across the country. Having passed through Buffalo, we headed north to the border with Canada. We had booked our overnight across the border for a few reasons. The views of the falls are far better on the Canadian side, and the hotel prices were a lot cheaper, and you get much better hotels as well. On the US side, none of the hotels offer fall views, but on the Canadian side you would pay less for a falls view than even the most basic hotel on the US side. However, this meant navigating the US-Canadian border. While heading into Canada, there were few issues. You didn't even need a visa, just a passport, depending on your nationality, and the only problem we came across was the queues. However, it was fairly quiet, and we were across the border and into Canada in around 30 minutes, and headed straight to our hotel. We had chosen the Tower Hotel, mainly for the novelty of sleeping in a cylindrical tower perched high above the falls, and while the room was fairly basic and a bit run down, we were still really happy. While it had been renovated in 2010, it felt a little like it was still adorned in its 1960s decor. Still, would you look at that view? While the room was only okay, the view was stunning. We checked at the desk that we had got the reserved Falls View room, and the clerk assured us we would be happy. And he was absolutely right. One of the best views from any hotel we have ever had. And the room only cost 240 Canadian dollars, which is around 170 US. An utter bargain when we would have only got a Holiday Inn across the border for the same money. Despite wanting to spend some time admiring our view, time was getting on and the sun was getting lower and lower. We would just have enough time to get to the falls for sunset. The forecast had been a bit unsure about the weather, with some nasty rain on the way, but timing was not clear, and in the end we were treated to stunning blue skies. However, it's pretty much always raining at the falls, as the spray from the downfall dampens the banks pretty much 24/7. However, it was still fairly warm, although our journey north had definitely cost us a good few degrees of warmth. The sun was starting to go down and turning the sky a wonderful hue of orange and purple. We wandered around the rim of the falls, getting some wonderful shots while we waited for night to fall and the lights to turn on. Once the sun had gone, we took the opportunity to hunt out some food. Honestly, we were not sure what to expect from the city of Niagara. We thought it would be fairly small and understated. How wrong we could be. The city was very tacky and the streets were lined with large US chain restaurants, and the low-end kind at that. There were several casinos, and the place had an air of Atlantic City, Reno, or for our UK viewers, Blackpool. So finding something to eat might not have been a challenge, but finding something we wanted may have been more challenging. In the end, we noticed an all-you-can-eat buffet right near the hotel, but rather than the usual cheap buffets, this was a Texas barbecue buffet. Probably our favourite kind of food in the States, and something we had not planned for this trip. An all-you-can-eat buffet is never going to offer the best quality, but it was decent enough, and we gorged on smoked brisket, ribs, salmon, pork belly, and all the sides. There was even a fantastic selection of hot sauces to try. It was a fantastic meal until we got to dessert. These were ordered individually, although still included in the price, and were absolutely amazing. We ordered s'mores that came served in a sizzling hot pan with melted chocolate and marshmallows, and an amazing pecan pie that really got us in the mood for Thanksgiving. Overall, it was a great meal, and we were really pleased we didn't cave in and go to Denny's or Applebee's instead. They even had a poutine station, so we got to try the national dish, which is just chips and gravy. Stuffed to the brim, we had just enough time to head back to the falls and take them in under the cover of darkness. Fortunately, the falls have installed a multi-million-dollar lighting system that illuminates the falls every night, otherwise it would have been a fairly limited spectacle in the dark. With the light show on, the falls are really stunning as they change colours throughout the night, from Halloween blood red to Ukraine blue and yellow, pride rainbows and the stunning Canadian flag. However, to be honest, our favourite was just simple brilliant white, which just looked more natural. After a while of soaking in the sights and soaking in the mist, we headed back to our hotel room to take in more of the stunning views from our room and have a bit of a nighttime tipple as we did so. We even left the curtains open overnight, so every time we rolled over we could bask in the glorious view. Well, it's getting a bit of a cliche, we have another huge day ahead of us tomorrow, as we explore the attractions at the falls, then stomp 275 miles back into America and across the country to have our wits scared out of us at Cedar Point's last Halloweekend horror night of the year. Make sure you like and subscribe to follow along with that.